gentlemen, welcome to Young PR Pros, a weekly podcast for the young and young at heart PR pros looking for tips and advice on how to build and advance their careers. I am Christine Simpson in Ottawa, Canada, and normally we have Julia Kent with us, but today she actually had to be somewhere else, so we have her in spirit. But today we have a very interesting guest with us, Ian Capstick. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Ian's a big deal here in Ottawa.
Only in my own mind.
He's got a decade of experience in communications. You're a regular on Power and Politics. You've got an amazing background. You were also named Extra Canada's Political Activist of the Year, which I think is pretty amazing.
Thank you.
And before we jump into the show, the reason why we have Ian here is we've been doing something called Take uOPRA to Work Day. So Sharon, did you want to just briefly explain what that is and why you're here?
Yeah, so Take uOPRA to Work Day is sponsored by the uOPRA Association that I'm a member of, and it serves to be kind of an education platform to showcase different industries within PR. Today's episode, we're featuring the communications agencies within the PR industry itself.
Cool. First and foremost, work at your campus newspaper. Two of the founders of this particular organization come out of the student press movement. And if it's not at your student newspaper, then it should be somewhere else within your university career. I think a lot of people view school as the beginning, the middle, and the end of the whole story of getting a job, and it just certainly isn't these days. Yeah, absolutely not. So I think folks like yourselves are doing it right, where you're involved in local associations and you attend IABC events, International Association of Business Communicators, Canadian Public Relations Society. But again, those are just the basics. You've got to really love and be passionate about something else in your life and in your world. I think that those are the types of attributes that I'm looking for when we're bringing on new members of our team.
Our listeners have this, what's the difference between GR and lobbying?
It's the same thing. It's just a nicer word for it. Advocacy is what a lot of my clients like to call it, because they work in national level associations or they work with advocacy groups, and they would prefer the term advocacy, but it's all just lobbying. Lobbying, the term itself, comes from the origins of it are literally people in the U.S. Capitol who would stand and mill about lobbies and sort of pigeonhole people and yell and scream at your politician and take you out of time. And the people who got really good at it, right, i.e. the people who had the connections and the folks usually gave the most amount of money, got the most attention in those kind of lobby-style conversations. The industry now is very different, though. It's so heavily regulated. We're more regulated than guns in this country, for heaven's sakes, to be a lobbyist. We don't do any direct GR anymore. MediaStyle has done that in the past with a couple of different clients, Fair Trade Jewelry Company and a few others. We tend to partner with government relations firms now. So it's a specialty in and of itself, and in essence what it is now is about collecting a massive amount of intelligence in from the government and understanding what that means to your clients, and then disseminating that information. It's not so much about hanging out in lobbies, although there's a lot of receptions. They really like those events. So. We tend to produce the communications product that supports advocacy, lobbying, and government relations work. So whether that's the videos or the websites or even the campaign strategy behind trying to influence the government in one direction or another, our work is kind of almost all based around that idea. So a lot of agencies have started moving towards a more flexible working environment, ensuring that the vast majority of their account executives and others are in at the right time to be able to deal with clients, but then creatives have a little bit more flexibility. So that said, there's really long hours sometimes, particularly when you're trying to mount a digital campaign and maybe things aren't going exactly the way you want. You stay here until it's done.
But I think that goes for the majority of public relations and communications jobs. I was in an agency and I was doing the long agency hours, and now I work.
You get time off in the summer, right? So
always after March, after March Madness, exactly. I go and then now I went client side, and I'm on the corporate side now with the CAA, but I still work similar hours because sometimes we run into crisis, and sometimes I get a media call at 6:45 a.m. that I've got to answer. I'm the only one who answers that phone call. So I don't think everyone has that idea that if you work in agency, you're not going to have a life, or you're going to be constantly in work. And it's just about balance.
It's totally about balance, and it's also about asking the right questions of your employer before you take the job.
Yeah.
It's a really tough market right now, so obviously people who are seeking jobs can't be particularly choosy all the time about what they do, but you do have an opportunity to negotiate. Anytime an organization brings you on, and anytime you're sort of presented with that opportunity, you should take some of it. And they'll let you know pretty quick whether you're pushing too hard or too fast. I mean, I'm going to be really blunt. Women oftentimes have this problem, right, where they decide not to negotiate because they think the job will somehow disappear. If they want you, they want you. So push it a little bit. Obviously don't push it too far. You're not getting a Lexus. You're the junior account executive. It's just not going to happen. But that said, if you believe that you're worth a little bit more and you believe the agency can pay you, or interestingly enough, maybe you want compensation in another format, and my fellow agency owners are going to kill me for this, but ask for more vacation, ask for more sick days, ask for more personal days, ask for an allowance if you have to go over a certain number of hours in a given week, and be really clear about what your overtime means in that particular agency setting, right? A lot of agencies have a lot of internal rules that prevent you from doing certain things or ask you to take things a certain way, and just understand what your rights are. Very few agencies in Canada are unionized. So there's not a lot of ability to collectively bargain with your management in these places. So the shot you have to do this, folks, is when you're signing on that dotted line. That's the real only opportunity you have to have that conversation with your employer. And don't feel bad about it, because they have these conversations with their clients on a day-to-day basis about exactly how much things are going to cost, how much time it's going to take, and what the resourcing is. So don't feel bad. They're used to these conversations. They may not be entirely used to having them on the employee side, but in terms of when you're deciding where you're going to go, particularly when you have a few years experience under your belt, you should be picky about it, particularly if you're moving to an agency. I've had conversations with other agency owners, and usually we can tell within less than 5 minutes whether somebody's going to be a good fit with our organization or not, and usually we can tell in less than a minute whether they're not just not going to be a good fit with any communications organization. And that's the other thing. I have to be one step even more blunt. This job's not for everybody. It's just not. Right? So if it's not working and you haven't got a job after a couple of years, and there's a whole bunch of people telling you some consistent reasons for it, either you fix the skills shortage that you have yourself, i.e. you don't write well, or you don't communicate verbally well, or you're not assertive enough. Those are often the things that prevent people from getting jobs. And then you move on, right? Like go do something.